Hi there, thanks for viewing. Since the last video I've added a few more corals, I've took out more of my sand bed, I've had a few problems along the way to deal with which I'll explain, and overall things are looking really good. So here we go, let's give you a bit of a tour. So the colour of the corals is looking really nice, fish activity is good. Now I did have an SPS colony up there, just on that tip. When I actually put it in with these other two, I did notice after coming back from the shop that it did have a bit of tissue recession on and a little bit of bleaching, so I was concerned about it. So I placed it, as you do, lower in the aquarium initially and used like an egg crate platform to slowly raise it to get used to the light. But unfortunately it did start to recede and the majority of it bleached out, so I decided to frag what was remaining and place it in a shaded area, which is what you do to kind of eliminate stress. This one on the left hand side is doing okay. It's browning up a little bit, which means that it's not getting a lot of light at the moment, but it's an indication that it's ready to start going into the light again, but it'll be low in the aquarium. This one, however, if you look right at the base, is still kind of continuing to bleach out with tissue recession. So we'll see how we get on with them. However, the other two, this one's coloured up beautifully, a lovely neon green, and is growing to the sides. And the other one, which has got what they call an acro crab in it, which they often ship out with, and that kind of keeps pests away from it and it uses it as a place to live. This one's doing really well. If I was zooming, you might be able to see the crab. I doubt it though. You can see its claw just at the tip of my finger there, right in the centre. Right at the tip of my finger. Getting a bit blurry now, but yeah, so that's doing well. I moved my aquascape slightly. Before, this was more of an archway here, but I had to pull it closer in because it was creating a bit of a dead spot down the sides, and I was noticing some of the tang waste, because tangs do create a big bioload because of the amount of food they eat and the amount they excrete, was starting to pile up down the side there. But now I've pushed that together, it's looking a lot easier to get flow throughout the entire tank. At one point I was thinking of adding a Vortech MP10, just a small one, but it doesn't look like it needs it now. I mean, my return pump is adjustable jebao and I can really get some flow coming out of there, and I've got that and like a T-piece that I can turn, so at the moment flow's enough, and I've been able to pin my corals easy to that. So new corals I've added this chalice here, which is starting to colour up nicely with some green stripes. This mint green chalice as well. The lights haven't long gone on, but if you turn to this side, you see these torch corals. Sorry, trumpet corals, I always say that. Are starting to come out nicely. There's about 20 heads on that. And from my experience, they don't like a massive amount of flow hitting them and a massive amount of light, trumpet corals. So I've kind of experimented with them and I've placed them down the bottom of the aquarium. It's even come in with a little bit of feather duster. You can see that there, moving in the breeze. But I still don't think they're fully happy. So what I'll probably do is move them away a bit more from the current. Now with the Vortex, they're known not to create an absolute direct flow like you would have with a normal power head, because they pull and push current. Let's call it an undertow. So it is random current, it isn't completely direct, but it looks like it's getting a little bit too much flow, and that's why they're not fully inflating. Look, they come up like big water balloons, like when they're really happy. So I'll have to work on that. Now this has turned out to be one of my favourite corals. This is an Akan colony, a tiny frag that I put in, which is really opened up nice. And I'm trying to adjust the settings on my camera because it's not bringing out the true coloration. There we go. There's little tinges of blue in between the orange that I'm just trying to pick out. But I just really love that. It's really brightened up the tank, and I'm definitely going to be getting some more Akan. Some people have full tanks of Akan colonies. They're very desirable. The Trachycoral's doing well. Now I did have an issue, and it was that I was looking at my corals one morning and I noticed that my faviour coral had some damage around its corallites on top there, which if I zoom in you can see there is some damaged area still. And also this Lobo coral, Lobophilia coral, had some damage as well. You can see the grey areas which are now healed over. So where you see the green areas and there's kind of a dark kind of stripe, that's where it was damaged. It almost looked as if the tissue was melting. So first thing you always do is check your water levels and your perimeters. And my KH was a little bit low, around the 7 mark. So KH, you're looking at around 7 to 12 ideally. I mean, natural seawater's at 7. The higher you push up the alkalinity, studies do suggest that you get more growth from corals, especially plating corals, because it enables them to take up carbonate easier to make their calcareous structures, but I'm no expert on that. So 7 was fine. A little bit, some people see it as kind of a danger mark because it could drop, but that wasn't an issue. Calcium was fine, around 420. Obviously nitrite, ammonia, they were fine. My pH, I'm running it through the Apex, and that likes to stay at a nice 8.2, and sometimes comes down at night to around 8.13 now, 8.13. But that wasn't the issue either. So I done a water change, and then I'd remembered that I'd actually target fed these corals the night before, but I noticed the damage with some, I think it's ocean nutrition food through a pipette. And I remember a long time ago I had a similar problem, so I researched it a bit, and I have a shrimp, and there was some talk about when the food's actually still on the polyps of the corals, that they will go and have a good tug at the food on the corals, especially LPS corals, and start to remove the food, and in doing so with their pincers damage the corals. So what I've done, I set up my new camera, which I've got, which is fantastic by the way. It's a FLIR FX camera. I can do another video on that another time, but one of the main reasons I got this is because not only you can use it as an IP camera, an internet protocol camera, which allows you to monitor it wirelessly, but also similar to GoPro cameras, you can put it underwater. You have to buy the waterproof casing for it, and you can put it underwater. So it's the best of both worlds. There's no other camera that I'm aware at the moment, in the UK especially, but even in America, but you know, feel free to put it in the comments if you know of one, that can be used as an IP camera to monitor wirelessly, and actually go within the tank as well, and be used as kind of a GoPro. I mean, it actually slots off here from underneath. You can place it in the tank in its waterproof casing. Now the stand is actually charging the camera and just plugs into the wall. You even get the US plug for it, transformer, and also the UK. So when it's not on the stand, it's not charging, so you get about 4 hours underwater to film. I'll put some videos up of how it goes, but the quality is absolutely fantastic. HD. It streams in 720p, but it will record in 1080p. There's not many cameras out there that will actually stream in 1080, because it can be quite difficult depending on your internet streaming capabilities. But it's more than good enough. It's absolutely fantastic and highly rated on all the reviews. But it ain't about the camera today. I'll do a review on that another time. But it's very good. Fleur FX. So anyway, I set up that camera, and sure enough, at night I was noticing the shrimp was going on top of the corals and searching for more of the food I'd put on. So I haven't spot fed since, and sure enough, they're all the corals that were affected are healing well. I was worried that it was to do with tissue recession or something, that a disease that had been brought on by these SPS, but it's highly unlikely, adding that other scenario. So the tank's doing well, eating well, getting on okay with the clown now. There's not a massive amount of aggression. They give as good as they get from each other, really. Loves the algae wafers. Euphilia corals are doing nice. So I used a carbonate solution by Seachem to raise my KH slightly, which has worked pretty well. I need to buy some more of it to get it above 8, really, to kind of, if I've noticed that it's actually dropped, then it might be better for me to raise it up slightly above 8. So I'm going to buy some more of that, and I'm going to start placing it into my top off water, which I have down there, which I need to cover with a towel in case sunlight comes through and causes algae into the water container. Let me show you this angle. I've also put one of my Lobo corals just getting tickled by the light round this side. I noticed that it was wanting to prefer a bit of a more subdued light. It's quite a bright coral, so the zooxanthella, which is what corals use for their pigmentation, you're at risk of it kind of sending that out if it starts to get too much intense light and bleach. And I did notice that around the edges it was starting to bleach, and it seems very happy there. It's getting more light than it appears to on this camera, which is good. So there's the side view. So I'll be doing some more updates. Hopefully by then the rest of the slight grains of sand will be disappeared, because that's all that's left now. I was considering putting a deep sand bed into my sump area, just to help kind of with buffering my pH and beneficial bacteria, but I'd have to look at the design of that, because I wouldn't want the return pipe to be stirring up any of the sand. So this is Budgie's Box of Water. Please subscribe. I hope I'm still teaching people from my experiences, and I'll see you soon.